Joining me now for more Lefties Losing It content is Sky News contributor Kosha Gaydar. Let's have some fun and frivolity, Kosha, before we get into the serious stuff, including Trump's inspired pick for Education Secretary. Alan Lichtman, goodness me, this saga continues after the week-long tantrum, and we've brought you plenty of clips about that. He's now announced that he's leaving X and shifting his social media presence to lefty safe haven Blue Sky. I've got to say with this guy, he really has embarrassed himself this week. I can't work out if these predictions and his refusal to accept reality and just doubling down on this narrative is, I don't know, wishful thinking. He really wanted it to be true, or whether some of these pollsters are actually trying to influence the election result by pumping up certain candidates and presenting their data in a certain way. I just don't understand how they can be so wrong so consistently when it comes to Donald Trump.
I think there's definitely something to the latter, where the polling industry, which is like a $20 billion industry in India, is in the business of shaping public opinion rather than measuring public opinion overall. That's certainly true. Even with Brexit, you saw it with the 2016 rise of Trump, and 2020 as well. They overall predicted correctly, but by less. They thought he was going to lose by a lot, and he didn't. And even now, it's interesting with Alan, though, because he has this cute model. You know, it made him famous.
The keys,
something different. And he was right for 9 out of the 11 previous elections. And he's not the only person who's wrong right now. So there was a more graceful way to bow out gracefully. And just these tantrums are going to live on X, whether he has left X or not. And it's unfortunate.
He'll be back. They keep leaving. They keep announcing their departure like they're at the airport. No one needs to know you're leaving. You just delete your account. They go to Threads. They go to this new one, Blue Sky, whatever this one's called. But they'll be back because the traffic, the interaction, the presence is
It's the place to be. It is.
So they kind of just come back with the tail between their legs. Talking about tails between legs, the MSNBC program Morning Joe, the host spent, 7, 8 years demonising Trump, calling him Hitler, threat to democracy, and much worse. But in an effort to save their sliding ratings, they asked for a meeting with Trump. They were somehow granted that meeting. I thought that was very generous of the president. But that has backfired, Kosha, because the New York Post is reporting that the show's ratings have tanked further, and the program's official X account has disabled comments because there is just such a tsunami of hate coming from their lefty audience, who are irate that these two would sit down with a man that they've been telling their audience for 7 solid years is going to destroy the country, is a threat like that America has never faced before.
Literal Hitler, and everybody's smiling and taking photos, and Mar-a-Lago is the other place to be alongside X, and they all want to go there, including these two. It's funny because, you know, in 2016, when no one was taking Trump seriously, they actually really boosted him. They allowed him to keep dialing into their program, and they had very effusive things to say about him. And then when he was getting traction, they turned, did this 8-year caricature, as you mentioned. And now I'm not sure they thought it through, because who are they speaking to? The Republican base did not like to see them and actually didn't want the meeting to take place, doesn't want any reconciliation. The Democrat base, some of them, the ones who really believe he's Hitler, are not happy that he took that meeting. So I'm not sure who they were speaking to. And Comcast, the parent company, just spun them off. And so they're going to be publicly traded now, the entire cable package, including MSNBC. They might have new owners in the future. So I think they've got a tough road ahead.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, MSNBC's primetime ratings have plummeted. It's not just the Morning Joe program. And I thought maybe that was behind their not demand, they're begging to meet Donald Trump, because maybe they thought, okay, we need to change tact here. Obviously, we picked the wrong team. But you're right, their audience isn't open to that. Their audience is hard left. They don't want them meeting with Donald Trump.
They dug their grave.
Don't understand why Donald Trump would give them this meeting. Unless he's playing some sort of 4D chess, he knew how this was going to backfire and completely destroy them.
I think he likes to see people who are his foes be self-humiliating, like humiliating themselves. There's probably something to it that we don't see.
Oh, maybe he anticipated this, but I don't know. But the president-elect does remain defiant about his nominations for key positions, including Matt Gaetz for Attorney General. And that is one of his most controversial decisions. He was asked about it.
Mr. President, are you reconsidering the nomination of Matt Gaetz?
No.
It's a fairly emphatic answer. Gaetz has been a victim of lawfare himself, Kosha, and I wonder whether that's partly behind this nomination.
Okay.
Trump wants someone who's personally been impacted, who's got not just the ability but the motivation to tackle this huge area. This is one of the biggest tasks.
100%. So the DOJ of all the picks, it could be argued as the nerve center of the whole thing and his ability to successfully execute the mandate he was handed in this landslide election. Because the first time around, his Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, was aligned with him, but maybe didn't know how the system worked and was so quick to recuse. That led to the Mueller investigation, which completely hamstrung his first administration.
Yeah.
And then the second one under Biden is Merrick Garland, and his DOJ is the one that brought 2 of those 4 cases and coordinated with the other state-run cases, which completely also potentially was going to put him in jail.
Absolutely.
So you can understand where he's coming from, and he wants a brawler, a real brawler. A lot of other people have also been quick to criticize Matt Gaetz' lack of experience, allegedly, but he is a lawyer. He graduated from a good university. He passed the Florida bar exam on the first round. He's a pretty talented cross-examiner. He's young. I think, that's okay. You can have technically strong people, legally technically strong people underneath him and have somebody like him at the top, but he is very controversial. A lot of Republicans are his enemies, and buckle up because this is going to be quite the fight.
And you can understand why some Republicans don't like him, and I'm talking about the politicians here, not the voters, because he will go after them too. He will talk about how they are bought by the lobbyists and the
insider trading.
And he doesn't want that. He wants the mums and dads, the $10, $20 donations to fuel campaigns, to have some honesty there. And I've got to say, I think most Americans, whatever side of politics they're from, would embrace that. Donald Trump has named his transition co-chair, Linda McMahon, as his pick for Education Secretary. She has previously served in Trump's first term as leader of the Small Business Administration. She is a highly capable businesswoman. There is no doubt about that. Decades of experience. But she also did this in a former life. Here she is with Kane at the WWE. Now, these days, Kane, the scary wrestler you can see there, also known as Glenn Thomas Jacobs, is the mayor of Knox County, incredibly, and Linda McMahon is going to be Education Secretary. So it's quite an incredible time to be alive, Kosha.
You have to love it. This is, the American government at its best is meant to be for the people, by the people, of the people, and this is that personified, where you've got somebody who's moved on to be, as you say, the mayor of a small town in Tennessee. She's now served twice, or will be serving twice in the administration. And the thing is, in the modern era, they understand that understanding media, how to wield media, and the value of entertainment is actually a really big asset in politics, because it is ultimately a communication job in large part. And the WWE franchise, she's the wife of the founder, obviously, Vince McMahon. They've turned this thing into a $7 billion franchise. It's one of the top things. So she's playing her part there, but I think fun times ahead.
Well, yeah, and she's often credited for being the brains behind that operation. It is a family-run business. Now, there's already talk within Democrat circles about who is going to be their candidate in 2028. Yes, they're trying to look ahead. They're very depressed about what's happening right now. And one name is leading the pack. It's Kamala Harris. This is according to fresh polling of Democrat voters. They want Kamala to run again in 2028. She's well ahead of Gavin Newsom, the California governor, Josh Shapiro, the Pennsylvania governor, Pete Buttigieg. I can't believe he's even in the running. He's hopeless. Kamala got 41% of those polled. The others were way behind with 8%, 7%, and 6% respectively. If if she's a candidate again, surely not. It's early days. But who do you see looking ahead? I would have thought, it may be a bit obvious, but Josh Shapiro and Gavin Newsom are highly electable, never mind the mess Gavin has made of California.
Yes, for sure. This, I think, is a statistical error. There's recency bias. There might be sympathy bias, something coloring those numbers. She's never won anything nationally, and other people who ran against Republicans and lost, like Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, exited the stage. So I don't see how she's going to rise like a phoenix. In terms of who would do it, I think the ones you mentioned are right. You know, Gavin Newsom, he's telegenic, he's good looking, he runs the biggest state. His positions are very radical, given he's been running California, so that's going to be a hurdle for him to get over. Josh Shapiro is actually very popular. He governs as a moderate. Some question whether he's actually a moderate, but he governs as one. Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan, maybe, though she had that issue with the feeding the chips thing. Maybe that'll be the end of her.
And just her conduct and Newsom's during COVID. Like, she was an absolute tyrant and irrational. I remember she was locking up seed sections in markets where people couldn't buy seeds to plant, but then you could do all sorts of other things. It was just irrational and cruel, and I don't know if that's going to be forgotten. Maybe it will be. It will be a.
It's just an important state, but I think you're right. And then Mark Kelly would be another name I'd throw in, the astronaut senator from Arizona as well. But lots of time to go until then.
Now, before you go, the illegal immigrant who murdered 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley in February, Jose Antonio Ibarra, has been sentenced in the last 24 hours. He will be in prison for life without the possibility of parole. This case, Koshar, was hugely important in the months leading up to the election. It really highlighted, in a single case, the madness of the Biden-Harris border crisis, the fact that there have literally been thousands of violent criminals who have been allowed to roam free in the US.
It has become a tragic but very powerful symbol of that catastrophe of an issue, and that was, among others, that was probably the biggest reason for the downfall of the Democrat Party writ large across the electorate, for sure. So some justice for the family because of this, but if you zoom out, it's meager justice, I would say, because the Justice Department failed with the whole thing. The fact that this person was allowed in here, taxpayer-funded flights are what led him from New York to Georgia, and then he did this. So it's a horrible day. Maybe with the deportation plans, even criminals that are in prisons can be deported so that the U.S. taxpayer isn't funding his life for the rest of time.
That is, and people are pointing to this case when the deportations start, and you're going to have a lot of sympathetic stories in the media of people being deported, and I think they're going to point to this case and say there's a reason this is happening, and of course good people will be caught up in it, but good people who broke the law by coming into the country illegally. Kosha Gator, thanks for your time tonight.
Always a pleasure.